Hello, my dears. I hope you're all having a very good start of the year. The end of the last year, 2025, my life got turned upside down, and it was the same with the start of the year, 2025, as well. So, just to give you a short story, a short summary, the start of 2025, I actually moved into my grandparents' house to give them company and also because it was closer to my place of work. And within 3 weeks, suddenly my grandfather passed away. I believe that was like the hugest shock, the hugest grief that I've ever had to bear in my whole life. And it left me reeling. It affected me a lot more than I expected. And it also affected my life a lot more than I would have expected because my grandmother had lived in that house for over 20 years and she did not want to move anywhere else. And since she was quite old too, she needed, of course, a companion to be there with her. I volunteered to be that person. And this last year has been, I think it's safe for me to say, the most challenging year of my life, but it has also been the most rewarding year, the year in which I have learned the most. Because before this year, I did not know what it was like to live alone. I did not know what it was like to take care of a house or to run a household of sorts, or not even of sorts, actually run a household. All the little itty-gritty things that go into running the house, that go into making sure that the place you're residing in is safe and secure and stable. So I spent this whole year learning a lot of new things. I learned how to use a washing machine. I learned how to knead dough from scratch. I learned how to make round rotis, which is something very prevalent in our culture. I learned how to cook for more than one person, which is what I had been doing for the rest of my life. I learned how to manage my time, how to manage studies, work, and a house. I basically had the chance to grow this huge appreciation for all of the women in my life and in the world, basically, who are doing so much. Before that too, of course, I had like an imaginative point of view to appreciate what they do, all that they bear and all that they handle. But now I can safely say that I have a first-hand point of view as well. And that appreciation, that experience, that exposure, it helped me grow a lot more into the person that I am right now. And alhamdulillah, I'm very proud of the person that I am right now. Apart from all the learning, I spent a lot of quality time with my grandmother as well, whom I hadn't been that close to over the last few years, but this last year, of course, since she was my sole companion in the house, and I was her sole companion, we grew very attached, we grew very close, and we, of course, knew all of the little idiosyncrasies of each other, all of the little things that you find out about each other when you live together, you know? Things you have to put up with, things you have to compromise on, and things that you actually grow to love, grow to adore, grow to just get very much used to. Then about a couple of weeks ago, suddenly, it was just like one quick day, my grandmother got ill. She was admitted to the hospital in the evening, and then by the next evening, she was gone. Now, I have been preparing for such a scenario, such a situation for quite long after my grandfather had passed away, because that had taken me by surprise. That had been reeling, like I said. So I have been preparing for it. I had been preparing for the will of God since my grandmother was really old as well. And I just wanted her to spend the remainder of her life as happy as she could in the place that she wanted to, in the way that she wanted to, eating what she wanted, you know, going where she wanted, enjoying life. So I, alhamdulillah, have been able to be quite patient and to bear the grief, the loss quite well, alhamdulillah. All thanks to Allah. And I will forever miss her. I will forever miss my grandfather. And I will try to incorporate the teachings that they taught me in my life. Because my grandparents led very straight, very clean-cut lives. Very beautiful lives, I would say, in terms of the simplicity, the quintessential nature that they were, basically. But my life has again turned upside down since I then had to get used to the concept again of living with people, with my family, because I hadn't been living with people. It had just been her and me since a year, right? And I've actually forgotten how it is like to live with people. And I think although silence is very terrifying in the beginning, but it's also quite addicting. Silence and just being alone with your own thoughts, being alone with your own self, having just yourself to amuse yourself, you know? So I have to get used to that again, and then I have to, of course, shift my whole life, my whole like belongings and everything back again to my parents' house, and just a lot of other stuff that I have to deal with, especially with work too, since work is, as always, phenomenally, insert whatever word you like to put in here for toxic. Anyways, amidst all this, I want to have some semblance of stability in my life, and I have been making a really beautiful habit tracker, which I got from, I believe it was a channel, Dominic Hart, I think. I got this idea from him. Let me actually show you that, because it's really beautiful. It's really something that you could benefit from. So this here is a journal that my aunt gifted me. Very pretty. And I've basically started using this for my journaling. Now this habit tracker, as I said, it was introduced by the YouTuber Dominic Hart, but it's gaining quite a lot of popularity. So essentially, the way that it goes is you have your month over here, so it's January 2026. You can decorate it as you want. You have then memorable moments over here, and then you have the days of the month. So I have 1 January through till 31 January over here. And this is sort of like a one bullet journal. So each day you write one bullet point of memorable moments about that day, stuff that you liked, disliked, or whatever you want to write, just one line basically. So for instance, for 3rd of January, the journal entry, I'll write today. And then corresponding to these days of the month, we have our habit tracker. So we have our habits over here, as you can see, and we track them throughout the month. So I didn't track any on 1st of January, and I started tracking them on the 2nd of January. And then I also have actually my sleep tracker over here. So this is going to track the number of hours of sleep that I have, and then I can make like a graph. Instead of this, you can also make like the number of habits accomplished, and then count through the number of habits that you accomplish and put those over here so that you can get a visual of like how many of the habits that are your target criteria you accomplish that month. You can have that graph. So this basically gives you a really nice like visual sort of representation. And I'm also thinking to continue this with like the books that I want to read as well, right? Then this is just like a work in progress of a drawing basically that I'm making, that I wanted to have like as an opener to the journal. Oh, it has the really pretty bookmark of its own as well. See, this one is quite nice, very quaint. People that I showed this journal to said that it looked like something out of Harry Potter, out of the Harry Potter world, and I kind of have to agree. Moving on to the part of the video that some of you have actually come to watch. I'm going to be talking about the books that are on my TBR for January. Now, these are gonna seem like a lot, but it's gonna make sense in a while. So, number one is surprisingly a self help book. I always say surprisingly, but I think now it has gotten a little bit less surprising because I have gotten a little bit into self help books. Full disclaimer. But my most favorite self help book to date that I have found is Atomic Habits. And the first time that I read it, I believe I read it like 2 years ago, and I read it in office, and I read it online. So then I got this copy, and I think actually I didn't read like the last chapter, I believe, that time. Anyway, so I got this copy, and I think I already read it once, but that time I didn't like properly annotate it. Whereas this time I'm like literally just properly going through it, annotating, making like notes and stuff because this book is amazing. It has so many really interesting and cool ideas. So I'm actually just like going through it and jotting things down. And I've also gotten interested in this idea of annotation where people annotate using like color code and stuff as well. So I'm trying that out. So I want to complete this. I also want to, as I go along with this, I want to fill out like the habit scorecard and all that stuff that the resources that James Clear has so graciously provided for us. So book number one, I've already gone through it. So this is gonna be like a more sort of in-depth study of sorts. All right, next comes a series which you know that I've been reading. Oh, okay, I have one of the pieces over here. Right, so the next is the series of Caraval. So the 4 books. I don't think I'm going to read all 4 of these books in January, but since I'm already a fair part of the way through Caraval, see, I think I'm like 2/3 of the way through the book. I'm on page 236, and the total pages are about 351, right? So I have about 100 pages, a little bit more left. 2/3 of the book at least are done, right? So after Caraval, I definitely want to finish Caraval like really, really soon, in the next day or two. And then we have Legendary, we have Finale, and we have Spectacular. So I'm not sure if I'll complete all of these, but as many as I can. Basically, they are on my TBR, and definitely the first book. Right. So my thoughts on reading Caraval, as far as I've gotten right now, I would say that I like the character. I like Scarlet. I don't feel as attached to her as I would do usually to other characters in fantasy stories or even any other stories. I don't feel as attached to her or as kind of like I don't relate to her as much. But what I did like about Caraval, about having Scarlet as the main character, is that her sister Donatella, she seems like the main character that usually books have, the reckless or um, wild, carefree sort of girl, the one who jumps into adventures. The cautious ones are usually the sisters or like the side characters, right? But in this case, the cautious one is the main character. I liked that. And I also like how Scarlet at least isn't stupid. Like she just think things through. It doesn't read off it does read off a little bit like how a character would think in real life. So I like that, and I very much like the character of Julian, though I don't know what the story is over there. Uh, one thing I caught myself thinking while I was reading Caraval is that essentially, at least as far as I've read, the book is actually like about nothing. I mean, it is about something, but it's not something important the way that most fantasy books are. Like most fantasy books are about like saving the world, right? Fantasy books or even magical realism books or whatever, they're mostly about saving the world. The world is in danger and there's one boy or one girl on whose shoulders, or one like team of people on whose shoulders the world and its fate rests on. So I've gotten kind of used to that. I've gotten kind of used to feeling like this book is important, but there's like a lot of important stuff going on. That's definitely not the case with Caraval. So I caught myself thinking that a lot. But I think it's okay. It's refreshing to have a story that's just a story and not trying to make this huge point, right? Okay, moving on to the next one. Now, this is a series which does have, again, it's a fantasy series. It does have a lot of important stuff, like I just said, piggybacking off what I just said. It has a lot of important stuff to say, a lot of important points to make. Saving the world, that whole thing is there. The fate of the world resting on one person's shoulder is there, but it doesn't say it in a very interesting, very mature, I would say, way. And that series is, you guessed it right, the Shatter Me series. Now, hear me out. I know that there's a lot of hate out there for this book, this book series, and I might jump on that bandwagon as well. Except for that, I really like Aaron Warner. I believe a lot of other girlies might have this problem as well. So the story with the Shatter Me series for me is that 2025, the reading slump that I was in, I was trying to break it, and what I did was that I filmed a read with me, continuous read with me, sit down and with me for like 2 or 3 hours. I filmed it with the intention not of posting it, but just of trying to get myself out of the reading slump. And the book that I picked up without knowing anything about it was Shatter Me. And so I read through like over half of the book in 2 or 3 hours. And I have to say, the writing was not good. The story was nice, it was interesting. It felt like the writer had this very important point to say, but she got lost a lot in the teenage drama. Like I could 100% tell. I think that's one of the first things that I noted down. Yeah. On the second page, page 2, I wrote definitely a teenager. Because I could tell that she is definitely a teenager. I don't even remember her name. Juliet, right? Yeah. Juliet is definitely a teenager. So I didn't like the writing. I didn't like the drama. I didn't like the unnecessary, just bombardments of, like just trying to sprinkle in romance or like the boy girl drama. I mean, you have a really important thing to say. Stick to that important thing. Don't take so many just major tangents. You can go off on a tangent, but it needs to be a tangent. It can't become the whole story, right? You need to talk about your whole story instead of talking about these inconsequential sidelines. However, I kept an open mind, and the reason that I kept that open mind was because I remember that a few years ago I read, it wasn't the Vampire Diaries, but it was a vampire related book, the Vampire Academy series. So when I was reading the Vampire Academy series, I don't really remember. I think it was like a journaling sort of, right? It was in first person, if I remember correctly. I don't even remember the character's name. But what I remember is that the first book, I believe the first couple books, they felt like it was just this teenager and her, like dramatic, overreactive teenage thoughts. And I saw the progression of her age, of her maturity, of her story as as the series progressed. So I believe by the third or fourth book, the series had gotten a lot more interesting. The writing had gotten a lot more mature, and it basically mirrored intentionally the character's growth. So I thought that might be the case in this as well. It was not. We weren't even given a lot of like story building. It was mostly just related to this romance and then this love triangle, which also ew, it's a really disgusting love triangle. One of the few that you can really just write off. You'll be like, ugh, whatever. Then we have the one of the in between ones, Destroy Me. I tried to get through it, but I did, I couldn't. Even though this is literally like 40 minutes, but I couldn't get through it completely. But I think maybe I'll have to give it another try. Obviously. Okay. Then I read. I believe it's Ignite Me next, right? Yeah, I read Ignite Me, and I believe yeah. This one I liked. You know why? Because of Aaron Warner and because of some of the quotes that are sprinkled through, which are again of Aaron Warner. I really like the advice that he has sprinkled through for her. Also, I hate the cover. I hate the cover though. What is this? What are these covers like, bro? Why do we need to stare at eyes? Yeah, so by the end of the third book, it had gotten a little bit interesting, but I had the whole series. Now, this might not like seem like the complete series, but a few of these are, um, how do you say, they're like combined books. So they have two short novellas in them, and they're named something else other than the traditional order that the series is in, right? So I had all of them except for this one, Imagine Me. And it was, I believe, the third book in the series, right? So I didn't have Imagine Me, and because of that, my reading of the series was put on hold, and I started reading other things. So in January, I also want to complete or try to complete as many as I can of the Shadow Me series. And I think these are pretty fast reads because there's so much. I don't know if you would call it like popcorn, but there's so much just like it's filler. You just go through. Okay, bro. Now they're gonna have a lot of scenes with these sort of they're trying to have tension between these two characters, and you know that that's just gonna pass through. Those scenes obviously just pass through like that because there's not really anything very much important, something that you need to reflect on. There's just dialogue and monologues that you can just fly through. So yeah, my January TBR is a little ambitious, but that's okay because it's gonna get us through January. You can see these are a lot of books. Let me try to read, count how many they are. So these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 books in total. And I'll do, hopefully, inshallah, a month and wrap up too. And hopefully, from here on out, I will have monthly TBRs and monthly wrap ups with reviews as well. So, you guys can tell me if you enjoyed this particular video, and also if you didn't like anything about the video or the way that I'm conversing. Maybe it's too long, maybe it's too short, maybe my voice is a little bit too low. The reason that my voice is low is because I don't want to create short form content which you consume like that. Although I did film a few unboxings, and I am planning maybe to in the future do a little bit of sort of skits or stuff. But I essentially want to create the long form content which battles brain rot, as you know, where you just sit down with a snack or a hot beverage and you just play the video and then sit back, and then you switch on your learning mode or switch on your listening mode, and you just sit through that video. And there's no overstimulation, so there's no like background music or a lot of like noise in the background, and it's just one person talking and you listening. I also want to start a podcast, right? Yeah. Anyways, that's one of my New Year's resolutions, to start a podcast with my friend. But yeah, the point that I was trying to make is that the reason that I'm talking slowly in this way is so that you can battle your brain rot. So you're welcome. Anyways, send me lots of prayers, send me lots of thoughts. Pray for my grandmother. I hope that she's in a better place, and my grandfather as well. I will see you guys next time. Much love from my side.